Hi everyone, this is Heather Lottanen from the Flourish Academy, where our goal is to empower, educate, and elevate you to create a life that you love through the art and business of photography. In this video, we are going to remove a tree from the background inside of Photoshop. But first, please check out our sponsor, ymcamera.com, for all of your photography needs. And if you're enjoying these videos, please subscribe, leave a comment, and share with your photographer friends. It helps us to produce more videos. I took this photo recently, and yes, of course, I noticed that there was a tree in the background, but have you ever photographed 2-year-old twins? They were on the move, and in fact, during the entire session, this was the only time they were standing even remotely close to one another. So I grabbed the photo, understanding that I would have to remove the tree later. Well, when I brought this into Photoshop and I zoomed in, I thought, this might be a little bit trickier than I anticipated because of the hair. So really quickly, I'm going to show you what I attempted first and why it didn't work before I teach you what did work. I'm going to press Command or Control J on my keyboard in order to duplicate my background layer. Next, I'm going to use any one of these selection tools. Actually, I have Object Selection selected, and then I can just choose Select Subject from the tool options bar and allow Photoshop to attempt to find the subjects, and it did. It selected them, but actually I want to select the background because I want to protect my subjects. So I'm just going to invert this selection with a Command-Shift-I, that's Control-Shift-I on the PC. Next, I'm going to grab my clone stamp tool by pressing S on my keyboard, and then I'm going to press Alt or Option on my keyboard and click to define a source. And I'm just going to start brushing over this tree to get rid of it. I always try to do things really quickly to see if it works. So I did this, and I thought, if I removed the repeating patterns, I thought, oh, that didn't look too bad, until I pressed Command or Control D to deselect, and I zoomed in, and we have this really unfortunate transition between the tops of their heads and the background. So that obviously did not work. So at that point, let's go ahead and delete layer 1 and duplicate that background layer again. That's Command or Control J. I thought, well, I'm going to need to separate the hair from the background, at least to some degree, understanding that you might lose a few hairs along the way, and that's okay. So I went into my channels and I looked at these individually. So I looked at the red channel, the green channel, and the blue channel. And let's zoom in a little bit so we can see this. What I am looking for here is the most amount of contrast between their hair and that tree. And I see it the most either on the green channel, which looks pretty clean, or the blue channel. I'm going to stick with the blue channel. So I'm going to click and drag this to the bottom of the channels palette in order to duplicate it. And I want to increase the contrast. What I'm trying to do here is get a really defined edge between the hair and the background. So I'm going to go to Image, Adjustments, choose Levels. I'm just going to mess around with these levels a little bit until I see even more contrast, again, just between the hair and the background. I'll say OK to that. And I want to make a selection based on this. So I'm going to hold down Command or Control on the keyboard and click this blue copy layer. And I have all of these marching ants. The selection is kind of wacky. It's all over the place, but I think it's going to work decently well. So next, what I need to do is turn back on my RGB layer, turn off this blue copy. I don't need that anymore. Come back into the layers palette. I'm going to zoom out with a Command or Control minus. Again, my subjects are selected along with a lot of other things, and I need to invert that selection. So I'm going to press Command-Shift-I, that's Control-Shift-I. Then I'm going to press S on my keyboard in order to grab my clone stamp, and I notice I have an issue. Do you see my cursor? It's like, no, you can't do that. And my guess is if I go back to channels, I still have that blue copy selected. I needed to click RGB to make sure all of those were selected. Okay, let's go back over to the layers. We have our clone stamp. Hold down Alt. You know what? Let's make that brush a little bit bigger, the right bracket key. Alt or Option on the keyboard and click to define a source. Alt Option click, periodically just to define a new source, and I'm just brushing over different areas. I might as well get rid of some of those branches while I'm here, and I'm defining new sources. Alt click, and I'm going right there above their heads. I'm going to now press Command or Control D to deselect, and let's zoom out so we're not pixel peeping and look at the before and after. I think that looks great. Yes, we did lose a few hairs. If we zoom in at pixel peeping level, you can see that, but I think it still maintained the integrity of the tops of their heads really, really well. So I'm not looking for perfection here. I'm looking for the minimum effective dose, which means what is good enough. What makes the image, improves the image overall, looks much better, but doesn't take me 3 hours to select individual hairs. I hope that you found this useful. I'll see you in the next video.